Hello everybody, this video is about positive. Positive is five, as one identity of volume. Positive is simultaneously five identities of volume, slash. It has nature slash value. And as nature, value slash nature. Nature is value and value slash nature, those two sequence natures. Distinct, non-distinct, and simultaneous. And why and how they are simultaneous is one identity of volume slash S, in other words, in demonstration to ourselves. With two other identities of sequence slash simultaneous nature that will not connect with this Trinity, but one way. All exceptions in exception nature are in demonstration of it. So positive has five identities of sequence slash simultaneous nature. And as one identity of volume, as its identity of relationship to itself, and as the value of that as a Trinity. That is only distinctly five semi-natures, because all parts of itself are a Trinity. The smallest identity of value slash value progression has why Jesus Christ has a picture of a capital A on the left side of his head and a capital W on the right side of his head, with the halo lit behind him. Already before Jesus Christ was born, the ancient Campus Martius in this republic, for which we really want until we need to stand, it was already criminally foreign influence, tactically criminally foreign influence, methodically, but specifically because the entire species of volume reliant upon that which they reveal together, led by the identity of value slash value progression, that all things share individually grouped in together, using how we are individual identity of volume, a grouped identity of volume slash S, and species identity of volume that no one has control over, but one way, individual first too. When we are not rights to individual finite first, in sequence slash simultaneous nature, then we only can be positive or negative as criminal insidiousness nature. Note how a criminal insidiousness nature, which is an organized crime term, I'm not a lawyer, they're gonna make positive and negative treatments distinctly from someone who's not criminally foreign influenced. So not only do they have the campus involved with this, simultaneously parallel, they have job sites. They have overt criminal enterprises, private ones, forced self-value, originally still. When we don't have enough jobs, it's not by accident. In other words, and roles with the perfect world forsaken is in relationship to how a lot of those jobs they have to have language. See, this is how we are syntax. We're in a semi-ancient syntax trap. A fact-cheaping nature trap. We have to use words like criminal insidiousness nature. We have to understand the science of positive and of negative and of their identity, of volume, that one which is inseparable from all others. And so it is the only thing that surges through all things alone, not force. And so we have force originally instilled and applied by a breaching method that is using human fact-cheaping nature. And further, it is using defenses of that. And further, is using the styles of that. In other words, as positive and negative treatments now. Identity treatments. Oh, that person's a jerk. Victim treatments, reactions. What else could they say? This is where and how we have all identity ground locations tied to our fact-cheaping nature in this trap that came before, since our parents were born, our founding parents. Before the England's founders were even born, this semi-ancient trap had already conformed the entire species' identity of volume, incapable of defending their reactions and needs to just keep going about positive and negative regular. Going about sciences, use of speaking for the sciences. The long words and our short words of our species had attached to it. This is not just words to say, oh, we're in a fact-cheating nature trap. This is science. When these 5 identities of sequence/simultaneous nature, distinct, are not positive together, they are criminal insidious nature, and or the right nature of the law of the person is not there, or the group and the species identity of volume/s simultaneously. Everything is in demonstration of this trinity's, of this one identity of relationship to itself. We're not supposed to agree about the name of it. We can't, because we're supposed to be grouped. We're supposed to be united. And when all 3 of them are in value, the first one is individual. If you're speaking for human rights and you're not speaking about a finite individual with specific acts in proper sequence, you're speaking as a criminal insidious nature, self-value. What's that mean? As identity, as criminal insidious nature that was criminally legalized. See, but we have roles with that. We have investigators, and vetting identities. This method knew that our nations would have to pretend that they're positive, so they would self-value styles needing to pretend to hate and really hate other countries here and there, so they could pretend to be not breaching screen, not breaching tool, which is needed by everybody because of the identity thefts and frauds that they're forcing with the vertical, horizontal database, organized crime method role sides. So we have people with the intelligence community, with the colleges and universities that are recorded intercities through time, involved with juxtaposed natures of organized crime at each age of campus and each nature of it simultaneously. And that's connected with what I'm trying to tell you, vertical and horizontal. That's a reasonable way to explain this. And is also how it is force sustained. Because I also have to and did pretend to be against such. But this is also where they force people to use other people's names. Everyone's speaking through other people. When you call up to report things, when you catch them doing bad things with the kids, they attach you and your family members and your neighbors to fake. Then people, what they want to do, they want to hold on to their identities. Oh, I know this person is a state police, my family member. Oh, agency, FBI. I don't care. I never had conversations with these people. There's a Joshua Julian. There were a whole bunch of people associated with forensics locations that are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated and involved with juxtaposed natures of organized crime acts, with various natures of their worst patients and criminals. And all of them, in collusion with, how many times are we going to see police shootings and no one's going to realize that there are other police forms? So when your guys are making convictions about how to word the law, you're making it more naive. You're making more credibility to someone just because they have insights that and how other police forms are associated, like with Wethersfield Police. Their juxtaposed natures of organized crime, acts and roles and methods, relevant per their uses of AT&T, with the corner of Griswold Street and Fairlane Drive. Recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with people associated with investigations, and vetting identities that are involved with on and off campuses, abuses of each age and fact, treatment, nature, each difference, like including boys and girls, uses of their own kids to hide their life progressions per their roles with this, which is completely database oriented. They use crime methods with other nations against their own too. And as conclusion here, what keeps this the outcome /S? Pretending people make conspiracy theories. I gave you specific names. Now, so there are a whole bunch of people with the name Sullivan recorded and involved with a Park Street location. That is involved with dozens of people from Central Connecticut State University involved with investigators, and vetting identities, who are on and off campuses of each age and nature are involved with abuses of each age of fact, treatment, nature, simultaneously, sickly, distinctly, each age of fact, treatment, nature, and simultaneously further, as victims that have been maintained victim predators by a method that maintains this self-cultivated. So, thank God, the same people involved with the I'll show you how, thank God, how positive, we'll only say positive unto itself, and we can reveal evolution's fruits and gifts and means from nowhere. And we can help, not just help people counter interbranch roles with child abuses, facilitated by vertical and horizontal, on and off campuses, database, organized crime, sequence shifts, identity thefts, frauds, and worse than war crimes, simple predicate acts delivery system method roles, identity theft / fraud roles, and the slash will stand for all that where it's worse than that. So, no, who can hear me? So all those people protesting, really only people are in an identity of negative value nature progression, that they already were forced to blame other things other than themselves in relationship to recorded, how they prevent correlation means. It's correlation nature, it's simultaneously inherent active progressive means. So there's a Dr. Brendan Leahy. There are two of them with that name. There are a whole bunch of other doctors who fabricated conversations with me and who are involved with Facebook pages, with judges, and who have involvements with a whole bunch of guys that hurt girls, and vice versa. Now these are, again, identity theft, frauds, role. They have wire crime methods. The same people involved with this Dillon family and with these Mendez police, a Kerr family, a KNERR and KERR, and Officer Jerry Miller. This whole semester, see, it got messed up because they put the coronavirus, but he is recorded this whole year. It is still further than and now one of the people involved with the principal child defenders campus, which got found out off campus anyway. There are judges and prosecutors that have been forging names, switching names, fabricating audio and video, and with people on and off Central Connecticut State University and on and off Trinity College that recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. These are people also with former director of the FBI, with his co-defendants, and people associated with them, and a former Mayor Gold and his family members, Joe Aiello is recorded involved with criminally too. The branches of government distinctly, non-distinctly, and simultaneously. Also with that and how those are people that are with locations right next to schools. Now, and so the Morrow families. There are at least two Joe DeMorros. I think their fathers have the same names too, but from different towns. And those are the same police departments, and people recorded, confessed, and demonstrated and involved with the O'Brien family, with all kinds of Justice Department roles with this. Originally still where they're used remotely, and it is clear as day, is night, and it is itself. As this identity of volume we are, that is positive or negative to itself, its complete identity of volume. We are a semi-nature relationship to it. That's why and how we are manifest, male, female, ages, areas, sexes, color. See, we don't, and species identity of volume. See, but we have basic correlation nature, how logic works. Offensively, we have theories, intersciences. We have research into sciences that is criminally foreign influenced. And so we have criminally foreign, how are they going to feed themselves? It is breaching method employed. You see what I'm saying? What are they going to do? We're going to vote for. What we have to do is have mandated law followed. Admit these natures of reliefs. And thank God, because it brings instant, changes the nature of healthcare impositions. Make things that will make, obviously, our limits on the actual healthcare people. Now there are people that are mental health care that say they are actual health care. They've been attaching people to little kids to fake relationships to medical doctors. They have the family members of the agencies and of the interbranch families on the child programs involved with juxtaposed natures. They're used remotely. So, someone speak for Wethersfield Police, so I don't have to go into speaking about people I don't know. And if you guys pretended you know, just say you're sorry. So because everyone's gonna find out, because we're gonna bring in all these locations. Because the Wethersfield Police they have an officer poisoning. They have state police, Wethersfield Police, FBI, foreign police, foreign and domestic military involved criminally. Like a Schedule family. I don't know the Schedule family. I never classed with him. He's involved also with the Domain family, with the Mendez police, with a whole bunch of people on off Fox Connecticut News, involved with agencies and courts criminally involved with them, and the buildings next to them, and with overt criminal enterprises. Now these are people juxtaposed with undercover too, but there is another method /S of organized crime they are in collusion with the interbranch. For example, with the interbranch part of the predicate acts delivery system, they're used remotely. They never had integrity as victims. They had to pretend other. They faked it till they made it for a breaching method employed value nature system. That's the only thing they made. Because the same reason you guys, everyone who's not interbranch and mixed with it, them in the foreign too. You're a countering nation because you can't be the integrity that your nation needs you to be without valuing, the pilfering exploitation of other nations. So they show on the other night some guy writing Black Lives Matter. on the sidewalk is a white guy. I believe it was on CNN. So, all this is made into our styles of fact-treatment nature that cannot afford to have discerned, sequence true, and what is going to be the value of positive when all five, the sequence true, the order of the finite, the order of the active, order of the progressive, and identities, semi/complete, relationship to itself being this one's self. That identity that makes inventions work or not in relationship to itself, further positive or not in relationship to itself. This is also, so I don't know the name of the guy. You have to refer to him as black. And involved with, he had interactions with Mike Roberts. I also barely know Mike Roberts, and that's evidence itself. Because they were involved with the investigations, vetting identities, and investigators, and the people like with the Cololo family, that Weathersfield police recently called here, confessed, recorded, and demonstrated, confirmed. Because don't forget, these people were all recorded, confessed, demonstrated how they were victims, forced to be victim predator roles with judges and with police forms when I was a kid, and with overt criminal enterprises, and with the vertical and horizontal, and with the O'Brien family of detectives and police forms, intercities, connected, and uses of that. That's what's actually recorded. So there was also so we have to have mandated law followed. We have to counter the wire crimes that are simultaneously internet crimes, because the interbranch locations, they use them to fabricate audio and video, and to sequence shift, and to forge names and switch names and attach people to fake words, fake locations, fake ties to other people, fake natures of ties to other people, more and more into databases. They pretend they're against things and for things, specifically to have their live aggressions. So we have child offenders. It shouldn't be hard to do. We have millions of people brave enough to go out only because they're going through them. Because when no one's brave enough to help an individual when they want to speak about actual acts, what is actually recorded, which originally still is recorded, that our branches of government, our locations, areas, state sciences, criminally foreign influence, and delusions wrought simultaneously, victim predators, preventing free speech while pretending to be for it, as breaching screens, tools, weapons, and worse. Let's all rehearse. My name is Anthony Wall. I want to show you how they're making you. They're using like they're making you guys defend knave convictions, knave conviction nature that can't defend itself and counter what is really to these movements with the streets. See, they say that Antifa is against fascism. Then ask those people to follow mandated law, the people that are so powerful against things like that. They're defending criminal and seditious natures of positive. That's why we have forced, sustained child abuses of juxtaposed natures. We have the identities of experts into things, to counter things that are used to further them. That's what's actually recorded. So we have people that have homes next to the schools. Also, like an Anthony Agman. And someone in the records, I don't know their name. Someone broke their window on their car when I was a kid. And I don't know what narrative they left in the record, but I never threw the thing at the window. I threw it on the ground. Those are people involved with identity theft, frauds, and they have the interbranch involved with that. Now there's a Fred Grisey and other people associated with the Wethersfield police chief's daughter and her husband and his brother and sister. I don't know how many there are. And family. Also, I don't know them. They're also recorded like with a John Maiano and with people with next to on-off web school, on-off child campuses further involved with organized crime with the kids of juxtaposed natures and the pretending it's legal because they were already used criminally foreign influence by vetting identities, investigations and investigators and all associated with that, including regular people's fact treatment nature, identity treatment nature of other people's names. They leave out how you know people's names. Some of that's tied to how they use the identity of AT&T, which is relevant to how they're using the identity /S of everyone behind these black-white movements, the counters to them. Everyone's shock and awe victims. And preventing demonstration of by what? Simultaneously self-valued roles, self-valuing how being victims. Because no one ever spoke, because of the vertical and horizontal database. Right? The vertical is how this is child abuses. The same ones involved with elderly homes criminally. So Wethersfield, please respond for them. And you know, there's a former Mayor Gold, and there are programs in Washington D.C. and World Trade Center. A whole bunch of people associated with the Hanson family, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with houses on her street, associated with interbranch predicate acts roles, on and off Trinity College, on and off Central Connecticut State University, and on and off child campuses in the Wethersfield Library. There's a Mr. Neville, who also has people involved with them all along Route 3 and as with people that on and off the state judicial branch offices. Now they have had all kinds of medical organized crime because they have to hide their lie progressions in cases. They need to pretend and uses of their identities. When did they have integrity? When did that's positive because you can use it for correlation. But they needed to offensively defend their uses of how they were criminally made, criminal and seditious nature, self-value, backed into and as that the way the same way the overt criminal enterprises are recorded, how Kepke need to hide the same sequence shifts, finite lies with them, active lies with them, not identity theft, frauds, lies with them. Like these are also people tied to Soto families, recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. I don't know the Sotos. These are people involved with identity thefts and frauds tied to them, where everyone's forced to speak through other people. So, and this is since before the World Trade Center attack. Hartford courts and the Britain Superior Court, afterwards I had it confirmed. And I found out it was involved with the deposition of the federal criminals and the former director of the FBI, their co-defendant, and his lawyer, Robert Chevrolet. They're involved with the same ones involved with the vertical and horizontal database organized crime acts with the campuses I went to. Debbie Gold recorded, confessed, and demonstrated a whole bunch of things to me. I don't even know what she was talking about. Out of nowhere. I never had a conversation with her. Screaming at me, too. In other words, but she's involved with a vertical horizontal database organized crime method that is one of the things that are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with the O'Brien family, with Central Connecticut State University's roles intercities with the child campuses, and with the ones further involved with wire crime methods and acts, as the ones known too with roles with AT&T too, for how a whole bunch of judges and their family members and people that are associated with them already locked them into self-valuing roles with the on-off campuses illusions tied to the relevant vertical and horizontal database predicate acts, including the ones interbranch, and how they were pretending to be integrity since founding. So it was like a broken grammar school, what was behind colonial interbranch. But they were pretending, they needed to pretend other. the same way they do now, because there's still a broken grammar school. They have the syntax of their language with Washington, D.C. and with the World Trade Center intercampuses involved with this. Now they want to make punks overall convictions about people, pretend people make conspiracy theories and have fights with people so they could make positive and negative. You know, everyone doesn't know how to speak for positive and negative. There are 5 identities of it, and simultaneously, distinctly and non-distinctly, how there are 3. And that is in demonstration how there is one identity of positive. More accurately than their ways, which are often, they know are criminally foreign influenced. They know our delusions rot, but only to an extent. And they are rules crimes predators. So they value roles with the Wethersfield police, with the other branches of government, having people call up from the Wethersfield offices and from the they have fire departments. They have an Inspector Mike. They have a person that lives near a house. They have of a Kerr family that has a Mike associated with. I don't know if he lives in that house too. On the corner of Meadowgate and Route 3, all along Route 3. These are also people that are recorded online, confessed online, demonstrated online, associated with him all along Route 3. Now there are men and women associated with them, with investigations, investigators, and vetting identities that have been speaking things. In other words, they closed down the arch, but those are still people associated with that then now, because these people that are recently with the Wethersfield police, with the wrongdoing and organized crime acts roles, with the phone games, the wire crimes, and the identity thefts and frauds, and the names forging and switching, that they have another Sullivan. And I don't know the woman Sullivan. I don't know if I didn't ask her name if it was Sullivan who answered the phone. Like the other day, I called. And I put that video on YouTube. You can't record the police, but I recorded myself. But you can't record the police if they're breaking the law. So I don't know how to do it, but that's why I've been asking for help. But see, people don't give help unless you ask for types of help. And that's where I found, as part of the way I found out, they have psychological experts that are just fabricating things, including about drugs. They're pretending people have drugs. People drink. People were in locations they never were. People were tied to other people that they never were. Nature's ties to other people. They've been doing this with agencies and judges to hide their life aggressions. They have their whole crime methods recorded. You have to have them follow mandated law, though. Judge Napolitano says that there was all writing and stuff like that. But they don't do that. They don't do that. Fox News is involved with on and off New Britain Superior Court predicate acts. And with New Britain, with WFSB. On and off WFSB's location in Rocky Hill. They're involved with the predicate acts of WFSB, of juxtaposed natures, attaching plaintiffs to fake words when they pled other. Their involvements in areas worse crimes, all natures of crimes. And they pretend that not legally, because they're hiding their life progressions per their roles with the fabricated audio and video interbranch locations, intercampuses locations, and their private locations. They lied through the wire. They lied through the broadcasts with child schools. Then they just keep going. This is how it is sustained too. They make it sustained self-value. They're building to perpetually exploit standing criminal and citizens' natures, black and white. They have recorded how they have military families, that military police families that are involved with KKK themed, Confederate flag themed roles with fabricated audio and video, vertical, horizontal, or database organized crime, identity theft, frauds, and the corners of Griswold Street. As people also enter cities involved with Central Connecticut State University and their roles with apartments near there and intercities locations near there, like the ends of highways connected to them. and deans. So then they have the sense and sensibilities of everyone, pretending what they couldn't pretend if they weren't being coached because of the interbranch, them and the whole bunch of nations at once. Not just for that. Overt criminal enterprises too. Not just for that. Criminal enterprises with predicate acts with them. Roles. Like in cases, fabricating switching names of officers, fabricating police reports, pretending it's a mistake, never letting anyone know it. Now these are in the Britain Superior Court and Hartford Court. I caught the way you can record them. I didn't record them, they recorded themselves. Leading up to the World Trade Center. And other people confessed this and asked me for help, and I asked others for help from it. Leading up to the World Trade Center, FBI and judges and people that are associated with judges and courts in Hartford and New Britain, they were involved with intercities like West Hartford also, and on and off campuses predicate acts, and with depositions criminally, used criminally, against everyone, including the plaintiffs and the defendants. But they also had roles with that. They also had forced roles because, like, for example, how they attached WFSB's relevant predicate acts. And now there's a Yagman family that through time has been roles with stealing my identity. And there are also roles with the judges and the police forms with the corner of Town Line Drive. That are also the roles with AT&T. And people like with all these boyfriends of Antonetta Spada. I'm sorry, Antonetta, I don't mean to you and your sisters. And your brother, he had a picture. I'm going online. I don't know if it's even really them because they're making fake identities pretending to be me. And I barely know you, and the only reason I know you, I must have been brought up by them. So, but there's a Cololo family that an Officer Sullivan is recorded, confessed, and demonstrated with a whole bunch of other officers, and with a Dillon family involved with houses in my area criminally through time. I don't know where they live, but there are a whole bunch of people on off Two Rod Highway also involved with identity theft, sequence shifts, investigators, investigations, vetting identity, and the AT&T and other stuff with that is wire crimes and sneaky oriented stuff. And uses of that as roles recorded and there were actually recorded roles with it and confessed and demonstrated. Roles with falsified police reports, stuff like that. Like this Joshua Julian also with their uses of Facebook pages for a crime method where they make people react to what they're doing with the identity thefts and frauds on Facebook. Now these are also people, they had a English teacher I had, which is a nice woman. I had a recommendation or whatever. I'm not going to give her name. But she was on there. I believe that was Anthony Agman too. Like what she said, right at the moment she started, that was years ago too. Since before the World Trade Center attack and since, I've been asking people in a sustained way for help per recorded, confessed and demonstrated. They also coached all the boxing gyms they need people to have fights or to be fake positive, ignore things that are relevant to the Connecticut, all these boxing gyms ties to Central Connecticut State University and to all these police forms, foreign and domestic, and their family members. There's also an officer named Hunter that is involved with the Hartford courts, that were involved with the New Britain courts and other courts, and the FBI director and federal criminals and foreign and domestic military with the same location /S they used for and per their roles with investigations and vetting identities and investigators. leading up to the World Trade Center. Now, that was outside of course cases, but it shows with what's happened since that and how they've been getting over with people on cases. There's also Dr. Zeman recorded, confessed, and demonstrated involved with predicate acts with Hartford courts and with New Britain Superior Court. And they have crime methods with this guy and with other ones tied to him, foreign and domestic. These are also the people on off Town Line Drive with foreign and domestic, medical, and overt drugs crimes with kids, and sexual, all those, because then they have the responses to such. And they have that also as their roles with the wire crimes method /S that has AT&T, and that has houses at the corners there. 3 houses on the corner of Griswold Street and Fairlane Drive. I don't know the names of. And that it was recorded, confessed, and demonstrated to me by other people. That and how they have, it was implied that they have my name known. And that it is relevant to what is relevant. Like, for example, these police calling my house after I've been asking since before that. They're just stacking more things I need to talk about. These are also ones recorded, confessed, and demonstrated uses of their kids into branch for roles with predicate acts with databases. With it, and there's a mayor, a former Mr. Abruzzi, who was a 5th grade teacher when I went to Highcrest School. I barely ever talked to him. He was recorded, confessed, and demonstrated. That's why he's involved with these fake things they were stacking into databases and explaining how people are in the same grade but they don't see each other and they're never in the same class. All exceptions exception nature. They're going to pretend there's other. Now these are people about positive and negative, remember, as criminal and seditious nature. Because that is exploited. And there are a whole bunch of names that get involved with the way they have little boys and girls affected by investigations, investigators, and vetting identities used intercampuses through time to keep all identities of the law, all conjunctions to them, criminally foreign influence delusions raw, incapable rules predators, names forging sequence, names forging and switching natures, have to pretend other, have to value the method /S they have with the Facebook page policing. And not just Facebook, inter-platforms. They have them, so they back them into making policies rather than keeping acts as the subject, rather than keeping sequence true as the subject. Where there are sequence shifts, note not just the illusions and the fabrications, but identity thefts and frauds. So this is interstates, way worse than just interstates. So there are also there are Vermont locations, and there are New York locations, and Connecticut locations, involved with also a whole bunch of other nations. There are Washington. A number of times Washington got involved with this, including when I was just there for boxing. In other words, same people associated with the child defender campus further. It has a whole bunch of people more further formally confessed and recorded. They're pretending they're confessing other because they make confessions about me, about Phil Colella, and about their roles with this Officer Poisoning and with this Joshua Julian and a Joshua Stryker. Joshua Julian is involved with child defender campus since before the offender was caught. We have parents of the schools involved with behind the backgrounds. They won't put anything in writing because they've been roles with this vertical and horizontal live aggressions from that, horizontal that way. Putting predicate acts in databases, sequence shifts, fake ties and fake words attached to people, fake natures attached to people, Uses of experts, then they're going to defend their identity. What are they going to do? So you have to get them onto paper. I want to know why and how. I didn't get a response yet for the rest of the confessions and recorded sickly, criminally involved with the kids and the policing of the schools. How that is involved too. How that is tied to Stop and Shops. How that is tied to the union of Stop and Shops. Has nothing to do with the union. Has nothing to do with Stop and Shop. Like with Jamie Smith. His mother used to be a police dispatcher, Weathersfield Police. His brother, I barely know his brother at all. And Jamie, I barely know his mom was real little. So when they're involved with, they live near me. In other words, they're being coached as victims. And with the other family, that the judges and that police forms are coaching and confessed and recorded. That's what he made confession to me about more. With other police are speaking different things. They're using the right things like the right to lie criminally. When the FBI, when CNN, Fox News show you him saying we have the right to lie, that's a criminally foreign influence summary of the law, with physical delusions, as a rules predator. So there's no way out. And these dudes are keeping at this. And all the women associated with them. So I want to know how we're gonna get them from. They want me to write another email because they can't respond. That's why they didn't respond to the new guy, who's been the last guy. Now there's no response. This guy's involved with these child offenders on the sex offender registry. Now it's saying he's a sex offender. And the females. That's why I didn't ask her name, because I'm trying to limit the people that have to demonstrate involved with this. Now you have a whole bunch of hate and frustration interbranch. They are victims, but they're victim predators. And they need to follow the rules. And on timely. So, plus dozens and dozens and dozens of people from Central Connecticut State University are recorded, confessed, and demonstrated by people associated with Hartford courts and New Britain Superior Court involved with the predicate acts relevant, and to the court as their rules also further with the deposition of Robert Lusk, the director of the FBI, former standing chairperson on Racketeering Influence and Corrupt Organization Act, and his co-defendant, no, one who had a daughter in my grade before they were, and another one who was associated with a shop class I went to. And Eric Jensen, he lived on the street of one of the, in Newington, but he went to my school in Weathersfield, which is also relevant, the ways they connected that to Two Rod Highway, roles with identity theft and the wire crime people, in the vertical and horizontal database. And as he confessed and recorded, I never saw them communicating Joshua Stryker. Now, Joshua Stryker's involved with them with predicate acts on off Trinity College, with deans also, with a whole bunch of other nations, forging names, switching sequences, roles with database crimes, uses of confessions. I have a Dr. Shub of modern languages made confessions to me and to one of the Saudi families. They recorded, confessed, and demonstrated have involved with intercities predicate acts that weren't their fault. I don't know about the one from West Farms Mall. I don't know her name. But they're involved with programs with Central Connecticut State University and with Trinity College that are involved with like a whole bunch of people associated with the Morrow family and with the Joshua Stryker, and with people on off the state judicial branch offices all along Route 3, like an El Calaveri, people associated with UPS. They recorded, confessed, and demonstrated roles with juxtaposed natures of organized crime that are relevant as confirmation to the roles with. That's just regular opinions. In other words, they're just they don't realize that though. In other words, that was because before I went to work there to check that out, not as a police firm or anything. I'm not a police firm. This is because the police firms and the courts are involved with on and off campuses, connected intercities, live progressions, uses of themselves as criminal and seditious natures, as styles of positive and negative treatments, of identity treatments that can't defend that and have answered the questions and or the potentials of each age of fact treatment nature simultaneously. So they have roles fit. So on and off the campuses in town, our houses, there are a whole bunch of people associated with the Institute of Living. They have like female doctor, people that work experts on kids and stuff like that. It is one evidence is recorded. They don't follow mandated law, and they've been valuing the vertical and horizontal predicate acts stuck into databases and spoken verbally to pretend it was recorded than it is actually recorded. So, intercities, sickly distinctly, each of the campuses is a victim, effectively by what kept how sickly non-distinctly from being discerned. They even brought in a homeschooled family as one of the people involved with the medical family, foreign and domestic, involved with the predicate acts in my street, and the narratives tied to it, relative. Excuse me, even if everyone's going to hate me, they've been using investigators and vetting identities on off all locations too long criminally. And on my street too long with the more child offender is recorded how. So you don't have to speak to me directly. They have this method. See, this is how they blocked Martin Luther King from speaking about the finite. But before he could, see, they keep everyone they've been using the right to lie, but they don't have the right to lie. They're keeping us from using the positive of the police. They're preventing it from being. They're keeping them self-valued criminal seditious natures exploited that way, because that's how they were exploited. This is everyone. The overt criminal enterprises are recorded how kept needing to hide lies with them. Excuse me. A whole bunch of people associated with intercities locations. So, and not by accident they have bad things happen in these locations, and they blame it on other things other themselves. Those kids never had a chance for the method they're using with the child campuses. So respond for them, and make sure you understand that I never had a conversation with the Brendan Leahy families. No, but they pretended to hold detailed conversations with me, so they communicated to me. In other words, but not to my face. And they have a Dillon family and a whole bunch of people associated with the Dillon family involved with them with predicate acts on my street. And I don't know where they live. But also, as their roles further with the child offenders and with the families on the child offender registry that are involved with them with other natures of organized crime acts, identity thefts, frauds, extortion, sequence shifts. Judges in courts, you know what they do? Like a Judge Killian records himself out of sequence, pretending something's recorded when others recorded than that. We have criminal readings of statutes. So we have to have people put on paper. I need a response now. And so when they restrict them, they make over allegations. They change what people say too. Then when you try to respond to them fabricating complete conversations, this is 3 months after my father died. These are also people further that there was a case /S ongoing at the time of my father's death. They also did it because of their roles with that, because they have roles with federal criminal co-defendants in that case, and with former director of the FBI as one of the defendants, and with people associated with the location of his lawyer's office, Robert Luskin, which is on Farmington Avenue. No, I don't know if it still is, down the road from the Harriet Beecher Stowe house, Mark Twain house, together there. McCoy also confessed to demonstrating involved with prosecutors, interbranch families, judges, and stuff like that, associated with investigations, investigators, and vetting identities, associated with how I was directed to go there. With someone tied to it, John Maiano, also recorded, confessed to demonstrating involved predicate acts with families on the child sex offender registry. And with these police, with the Wethersfield police that just called me a week ago, how people won't let free speech unless you're perceived. They need to blame, rather than blaming it on things like Jim Crow laws, even, not let alone slavery. Blame it on prejudice, because if they blamed it on the vertical horizontal database of organized crime, the physical delusions of the logic experts, the identity thefts and frauds, right evident right there. If you follow the rules, the rule of law, you can't defend such. You have to pretend other. You have to pretend you're against such. So you either pretend to be against prejudice. Then they have to feel, because they're abused victims, they have to feel good about themselves as criminal serious natures. This is a child abuse of juxtaposed natures of it. So pick one name in sequence and let's go. Let's get a response.